I came to consciousness in the middle of someone else's story. A marble countertop pressed cold through my palms as a set of papers slid toward me. A divorce agreement. Clean. Clinical. Final. Leo's back, she said. Her voice was calm, too calm. Sterile, like the penthouse itself. Not a tremor, not a hint of hesitation. Sign this and leave. I don't want him to see you here. I lowered my gaze to the document. Attached to it was a wire transfer confirmation. 7 figures. The message couldn't have been clearer. My wife's one true love, the man she never got over, the one who slipped through her fingers, had returned. And I, the stand-in, the placeholder husband, was being quietly escorted offstage. I didn't argue. I didn't ask questions. I picked up the pen and signed. The charade was over. If someone wanted the role of placeholder next, they were welcome to it. The papers were signed, but the law required a 1-month cooling-off period, 30 days before it was truly over. That night, I lay sprawled across the massive king-sized bed in the penthouse, staring up at the ceiling. My stomach twisted with emotions that didn't quite feel like mine: resentment, exhaustion, a dull ache that had clearly been building for years. It didn't take long to understand where I was. I was inside a novel. In the original story, the man whose body I now occupied, Drew Evans, was a second-rate antagonist. The villain's loyal sidekick. A man obsessively in love with the female lead, his wife. He made her life miserable, harassed her, controlled her, eventually spiraled into madness, and tried to kidnap her. It ended with him being blown to smithereens. Clutching my phone, I stared at my updated bank balance and let out a long, slow breath. With this kind of money and a roof over my head, the future looked manageable. Plenty of fish in the sea. Why would I ever go head-to-head with the story's hero? That was a guaranteed suicide mission. My name is Drew Evans, and I'm a rational man. I had absolutely no intention of following that script. I'd signed the papers. Now all I had to do was keep my head down, avoid drama, and let the clock run out. Just as I was drifting off, my phone buzzed. Caller ID, Isabella. Isabella Rossi. Don't tell me she's having second thoughts, I thought. The money already hit my account. I answered. Drew, she said, her voice crisp and cold. Come get your things. Leo will be upset if he sees them here. If you're late, just throw them out. I nearly laughed. Why would I throw them out? Isabella might be an ice queen, but she had impeccable and expensive taste. Everything she'd ever bought me was worth a small fortune. I cleared my throat. Fine. I'm on my way. Before she could change her mind, I hung up and was out the door within minutes. When I arrived at the penthouse, I was surprised to find her still there. She stood barefoot beside the designer sofa, shoes kicked aside. Her black couture suit was perfectly tailored, hugging her tall, elegant frame. Her toes were painted a soft shell pink, delicate and immaculate, like everything else about her. She leaned casually against the arm of the sofa, long, flawless legs crossed, expression caught somewhere between boredom and deep contemplation. Her makeup was perfect, untouched. Isabella Rossi looked exactly as the novel described her. Lethal, aristocratic, untouchable. According to the story, Drew's grandfather had once saved Isabella's father's life. That single debt was the only reason the Evans family had been allowed to marry into the Rossi dynasty. Otherwise, a small, insignificant family like ours would never have stood a chance. I shook my head and pushed the thought aside. Time to pack. Upstairs, the master bedroom felt cold and lifeless, like no one had ever truly lived there. The walk-in closet was massive, packed with seasonal designer clothes, many of them still with tags attached. Jackpot. I separated the unworn pieces into one pile. They'd sell beautifully on the RealReal. The rest I kept. A new wardrobe without spending a dime. In one drawer I found a collection of high-end watches, diamond cufflinks, and accessories so expensive even my untrained eye could tell they were obscene. I packed everything into 8 large suitcases. As I was about to leave, a strange tightness seized my chest. An impulse I couldn't explain made me sit down on the edge of the bed. Almost against my will, I reached beneath the frame and pulled out a small cardboard box. Inside was a diary and a photo album. My fingers trembled as I opened the diary. January 1st. I finally met Isabella today. Dad said she's my fiancée. I never imagined she'd be so beautiful. I think I'm falling for her. January 5th. The Rossis all looked down on me. Isabella told me today that ours would be a marriage of convenience only. It hurt, but I agreed. Just being able to see her is enough. March 11th. We got married. Isabella chose the date. She said it aligned with her company's 10th anniversary, so we could celebrate both together. I didn't object. March 12th. Isabella gave me an agreement today. It says I have to leave the moment he comes back. I didn't want to sign, but when I looked into her eyes, I couldn't refuse. I closed the diary slowly. This wasn't a villain. This was a doormat. For 3 years, Isabella had treated him like dirt, and he had worshipped her anyway. Now the hero was back, and Drew was expected to disappear without complaint. No wonder he died. Probably stress, rage, a heart that finally gave out. And somehow, I had slipped into his place. I returned the diary to the box and picked up the photo album. When I opened it, I froze. Every page was Isabella, sitting, standing, working, scolding employees, even sleeping. Hundreds of photos, taken quietly, lovingly, obsessively. Tucked into the album were handwritten notes detailing all her preferences. Her coffee order, her favorite silk pajamas, her routines. This was an obsession. This was love down to the bone. Anyone could fall for a woman like Isabella, beautiful, powerful, impossibly wealthy. But a man still needed to know his limits. Time to cash out. I sealed the box, finished packing, called an Uber XL with movers, and left. Down in the lobby, a Rolls-Royce Cullinan pulled up. A man stepped out. Tall, around 6 feet. Pale, clean-shaven, thin to the point of fragility. Glasses perched neatly on his nose. He carried himself with a quiet melancholy. His features vaguely resembled mine, but where I looked like sunburned California, he was pure East Coast pallor. "You must be Drew," he said smoothly. "Thank you for taking care of Isabella these past few years." I understood immediately. Leo Vance, the hero. I smiled politely. "No problem. We took care of each other. That's what marriage is for, right?" His expression darkened. Before he could respond, a voice cut through the air. "Leo." Isabella rushed past me like a gust of wind and threw herself into his arms. She hugged him tightly, right in front of me. Then she glared at me over his shoulder. "Why are you still here?" I laughed, sharp and humorless. "Eager, aren't we? You might not care about your reputation, Isabella, but at least think about the company. If page 6 gets a photo of this, Leo's going to look like the other man." I leaned in, lowering my voice. After all, we're not divorced yet. Her face flushed an ugly red. Leo's eyes hardened. "Drew, you gave your word," Isabella hissed. "I did," I replied calmly. "And I still have self-respect. If you want this divorce, you'll wait out the cooling-off period like civilized adults." Before she could argue, Leo took her hand. "There's been a misunderstanding," he said calmly. "Isabella and I haven't seen each other in 3 years. We're just meeting some old friends. You're welcome to join us." I declined. "No thanks. I've got things to do." Then I looked straight at him. "Just some advice. The optics aren't great. Your world can get messy fast." I met Isabella's eyes. She understood and subtly stepped away from Leo. Leo's face went dark. I loaded the last box and left. The condo Isabella had put in my name was already waiting. After selling the unused designer clothes and accessories, I was $30,000 richer. The watches added even more. Divorced. Wealthy. I could retire, but I still had one last play. Technically, I still worked at Rossi Enterprises. I decided not to quit. Let her fire me. Severance would be sweeter. Hard work was for suckers. I was in a novel now. My mission was simple: accumulate as much cash as possible and stay alive. But the hero's plot armor kicked in faster than I expected. By morning, my name was trending. Isabella called screaming. Drew, did you do this on purpose? What are you talking about? I asked, half asleep. You set this up. If I find out you hired someone. She hung up. Confused, I checked my phone. A gossip site had the answer. Photos of me moving out. And in the background, clear as day, Isabella and Leo embracing. Hashtag Rossi shock. Isabella Rossi, divorcing husband for high school sweetheart? Someone had tipped off the paparazzi. Now Leo was painted as a homewrecker, and I was the villain. The narrative shifted fast. Leo and Isabella were always the power couple. Drew forced his way in. The Evans family guilted her into marriage. That's why there was no real wedding. Leo had been forced to leave the country 3 years ago. That was the story now. A terrible car accident. Severe injuries. Missed the wedding because he physically couldn't attend. And just like that, everything flipped. Yeah, I knew Leo wouldn't be painted as a homewrecker. Of course not. Turns out, he was the victim all along. The misunderstood lover. The tragic romantic hero. And me? Drew is disgusting. So Isabella is finally free from that leech. Good for her. True love always wins. A perfect love story. Overnight, Leo Vance became a devoted man who had suffered in silence, while I was recast as the manipulative, social climbing villain who had forced himself into Isabella's life. Any comment that tried to defend me was instantly buried under an avalanche of hate, until the user eventually deleted their account. I was furious. The audacity. A car accident? If he was so deeply in love, why didn't he pick up a phone for 3 whole years? Not one call. Not one message. And now he was parading around as the faithful lover who never gave up. Isabella never replied to my text. I clenched my fists. If this wasn't resolved, I wasn't signing the final divorce papers. Before I could confront her, my own family showed up. I was about to sit down for lunch when someone started pounding on my door like they were trying to tear it off its hinges. Who the hell? I opened it to find a middle-aged couple standing there, faces twisted with rage. A jolt shot through me. Fragments of the original Drew's memory surfaced. Drew, you've really done it this time, my father spat. You dare move out? Where's Mrs. Rossi? And you're just standing there? My mother snapped. We've been looking everywhere for you, and here you are about to eat like nothing's wrong. So these were Drew's parents. In the novel, they were parasites, people who used him without ever giving anything back. If they'd shown him even a shred of real affection, maybe he wouldn't have twisted himself into something ugly and met such a miserable end. But I wasn't the old Drew. I wasn't letting this happen. I turned away, sat back down at the table, and started eating. My mother slammed her palm down hard enough to rattle the dishes. You still have the nerve to eat? I looked up calmly. What exactly should I be doing instead? If you have something to say, say it. If you're just here to yell, don't bother. I'm not listening. She exploded. I'm telling you, Drew, this is your mess. You need to go apologize, or I swear I'll. He's right, my father cut in, his tone suddenly wheedling. The Rossis cut off our supply chain. Your brother's startup depends entirely on their contracts. This scandal is humiliating us. They took turns piling it on, voices overlapping in a chorus of disappointment, fear, and greed. I felt nothing but disgust. So their lives were falling apart, and once again I was expected to fix everything. I didn't start this, I said flatly. Isabella wants the divorce. Stop listening to rumors. She's not coming back. You should eat and go. I'm probably losing this condo soon anyway. That stopped them cold. Their faces drained of color before flushing red with anger. You signed a marital agreement, my father shouted. If the Rossis want a divorce, we'll leak it to the press. Let's see how she likes that. I raised an eyebrow. A marital agreement? I'd almost forgotten about that detail. You've seen the comments online, haven't you? I said, my voice dripping with scorn. They've already turned Leo from a home wrecker into Romeo. What do you think a piece of paper will do? I leaned forward. The moment you release that, we won't just be nobodies. We'll be erased. Gone overnight. That wasn't an exaggeration. The Rossi family's influence in this city was absolute. My parents paled. Fear finally sank in. They sat down quietly and ate in silence. Afterward, I walked them out. Standing alone in the sleek, modern condo, an idea formed. I couldn't keep this place. It was just another liability. I called a real estate agent and listed it. As I stared at the cold, empty rooms, I thought of Isabella. Still no response. Instead, my phone buzzed nonstop. Hate messages, spam calls, unknown numbers. I tried to ignore it. But not long after my parents left, I heard shouting outside my door. I checked the peephole. Some crazed fan was trying to splash red paint across my door. Security tackled him and dragged him away. As they hauled him off, the woman screamed over her shoulder, "You'll get what's coming to you, Drew. You'll burn in hell." That was it. I called Isabella. It rang again and again before she finally picked up. Her voice was ice. "Have you caused enough trouble? Leo is back representing his family's interests," she continued, "all business. He has a major partnership with Rossi Enterprises. If this deal isn't stable..." I cut her off. My patience was gone. "Isabella, I don't give a damn about your business plans. But let me remind you, during this cooling-off period, if I don't show up to sign the final papers, this divorce doesn't happen." I lowered my voice. "If you let them keep slandering me, I swear I'll burn everything to the ground. I won't care who gets caught in the fire." Silence. "You have one day," I said. "Retract every lie. Clear my name. If you don't, I'll be happy to do it myself." I hung up. I had a temper too. If they wanted to drag my name through the mud, fine. They might have forgotten who the real third wheel in this relationship was. But I was about to remind them. Maybe my threat worked. Soon after, Isabella finally acted. She posted one sentence on her official Twitter account. "I hope everyone can refrain from online harassment. A masterclass in passive aggression." Her followers praised her kindness, while the hate against me only intensified. "Isabella Rossi, you were something else." I called my parents and offered them $30,000 for the marital agreement. It hurt to pay them, but it was necessary. I'd add it to Isabella's tab. The document arrived soon after, signed by Isabella's late grandfather, complete with his personal seal. "Sorry, old man," I thought. "Didn't want to drag you out of your grave, but they pushed me too far." The timing wasn't right yet. I needed to let the bullet fly a little longer. Perhaps feeling victorious, Leo Vance himself showed up at my condo, with a real estate agent in tow. He'd changed. The melancholy was gone. In its place was arrogance, authority, predatory eyes. "I'm buying this condo," he said flatly. I chuckled. "I'll pay 30% above asking," he added. "I don't want anything of Isabella's left in your hands. After the sale, you leave the city." If he hadn't said that, I might have considered it. But now, "Not for sale," I said, smiling thinly. "Not to you." Annoyance flickered across his perfect face. He made a subtle hand gesture, a signal I recognized from a novel. I wagged a finger. "Forget it, Leo. Not happening. If you want this place, have Isabella come ask me herself. Otherwise, get out." The room went cold. The real estate agent looked like he might collapse. "Drew," Leo said softly, "do you really think I won't touch you?" I leaned in. "Leo, were you really in a car accident 3 years ago?" His face went rigid. I lifted my phone. Travel records. Credit card statements. Others might not know, but I have a very clear picture of your accident. I smiled. "If you don't want a wildfire online, get out of my sight." His jaw clenched. Rage burned in his eyes, but he left. The fool. He thought I was weak. I had no issue divorcing Isabella, but trying to strong-arm me out of my assets? That was war. The Rossis were worth billions. They thought they could buy my silence with a few million and a condo. I'd agreed at first because it was easy money. But now, the deal was off. This condo mattered. It was where Drew and Isabella first met. He'd planted every rose on the terrace with his own hands. Even now, I felt a phantom ache at the thought of losing it. Leo wanted it for that reason. He wanted to erase another man's devotion. When he couldn't buy it, he tried to burn it down. I didn't realize what was happening until smoke filled the room. The alarm went off. Security dragged me out as I passed out. I woke in a hospital bed. Isabella was there. "You're okay," she said coldly. "I'll be leaving." I grabbed her wrist. He did this. She yanked free. "I can't believe you'd set your own home on fire to frame Leo." I almost laughed. "Think whatever you want. Just don't regret it." She stormed out. I didn't understand it. How could someone so intelligent be so blind? A day later, her team quietly removed the worst trending topics, but the damage was done. The Rossi board was displeased. I made a call. Julian Rossi. At a private club. He swirled red wine and smirked. "Drew, I underestimated you." I slid a manila envelope across the table. "If you want to win," I said, "this is your ammunition." He opened it. His eyes lit up. "Is this reliable?" "Of course." I said. I continued calmly. For the last 3 years, I wasn't just warming Isabella's bed. I was doing my research, because I knew there was someone else in her heart. The original Drew had been eaten alive by jealousy. He'd used every resource he had to dig into Leo's life. And then he died, leaving me the fruits of his labor. Everything he uncovered, everything he compiled, landed in my hands. I hadn't planned on using this nuclear option. But Leo had left me no choice. My family's company was already on the brink of bankruptcy because of the Rossis. I was next. Julian raised an eyebrow. "This is good leverage. But can you really take down Isabella? She still has Leo." "Don't worry," I said with a confident smile. "He won't be a problem for much longer. Leave him to me." Julian's smirk widened into a genuine grin. We clinked our glasses and drank. Originally, my plan had been simple. Take the money and disappear. But Isabella's blind devotion to Leo, a man who nearly got me killed, changed everything. This wasn't a retreat anymore. This was a counterattack. After leaving the club, I organized everything that had happened. Then I opened Twitter. I posted 2 images. Nothing more. One was a photo from our wedding day. The other was a clean, unmistakable image of the marital agreement signed by her grandfather. The internet exploded. My mentions turned into a battlefield. "What the hell? So you didn't force her to marry you? Wait, they're not divorced yet? Does that mean Leo really is the other man? My boy Leo would never. This is obviously fake. This drama is better than Netflix." Grab the popcorn. I don't care about the backstory. They're still married. Isabella Rossi is cheating. For weeks, Isabella and Leo had been inseparable. Photographed at public events, private parties, always intimate. Leo carried himself with a smug, possessive air, like he was silently declaring, "This woman is mine." His delusional fans even made romantic video montages of them. Now, those same videos were damning evidence. Our marriage had been arranged, a pact between families. The marital agreement was ironclad proof. When users questioned why we never had a proper wedding, an anonymous account suddenly posted photos from the event. It may have doubled as a corporate anniversary celebration, but every essential element of a wedding was there. I didn't know who that helpful stranger was, but their timing was perfect. The online fury reached a fever pitch. Isabella's number lit up my phone again and again. I ignored it. So she came to me. Since my condo was a burned-out shell, I was staying in a hotel suite. She used her master key and burst in while I was soaking in the bathtub. She froze when she saw me, then spun around, her body trembling with rage. "Drew, stop this nonsense right now. Delete everything you posted." I clicked my tongue. "You slander me online. Leo's people burned down my home. And now you want to silence me? Isabella, you have no sincerity." I leaned back. "If you're going to beg, at least have the right attitude." She took a deep, shaky breath. "I'll give you 50 million. Clear this up. Tell everyone you forced the marriage. Say Leo is innocent." She was willing to say anything to protect him. "Isabella, don't you get it?" I said, standing up and wrapping a towel around my waist. I walked up behind her, my voice low near her ear. "You're not in a position to make demands anymore. If I don't agree, no one walks away clean." "You'd let your own family go bankrupt?" she hissed. I wrapped an arm around her waist, pulling her close. My family, I chuckled darkly, is not my problem. She flinched, shocked by my coldness. I tightened my grip, enjoying her discomfort. It's not too late to regret your choices, Isabella. Dump Leo. Give us another try. It was her last chance. She shoved me away violently, eyes blazing. In your dreams. Leo will destroy you. All right, I said with a shrug. I can't wait to see what other tricks your precious Leo has. You should go. We're about to be divorced. Wouldn't want Leo getting the wrong idea. Humiliated, thinking I'd been spying on her, she stormed out and slammed the door. I smiled, pulled out my phone, and sent a single message. It's time to close the net. From that moment on, Isabella had no defense. Every time Leo tried to speak publicly, he was drowned in a tidal wave of anger. He attempted a live stream to explain himself, only for viewers to swarm him with accusations. Someone asked him point blank if he was a homewrecker. The marriage certificate ended all debate. Leo went silent. His silence was taken as guilt. That was when I released the videos. Footage from his time abroad. Leo wasn't pining for Isabella. He'd been partying, surrounded by women. I even compiled the highlights into a neat file and sent it directly to Isabella. I hoped they'd have a calm, rational conversation about it. Julian was in high spirits when we met again. You know, he said, swirling his wine, for all her tough CEO act, Isabella is a notorious germaphobe with a strict moral code. I bet the number of times she even slept with you could be counted on one hand. But with Leo? He chuckled. Total bonfire of the vanities. I smiled. In the novel, Leo was the alpha hero. Women threw themselves at him. It was naive to think he'd stayed celibate. To him, any woman he wasn't married to was just a fling. Julian tapped the table. So, when's the divorce final? 7 days left, I replied. Be ready. Julian nodded and dropped another bomb. Photos and videos from a European hospital on our wedding day. Isabella had called Leo that day, begging him to come, promising to run away with him. But Leo had been partying so hard with another woman that he ended up in the ER. The car accident was just a convenient lie. His devoted lover image shattered. Paparazzi later caught Isabella and Leo in a screaming match. In one photo, Leo's hand was wrapped around her throat. Her face was frozen in shock and betrayal. I felt no pity. I opened a bottle of wine. The tables had turned. What Isabella thought was epic romance was nothing more than lust. Leo didn't see women as equals, just accessories. Even though Isabella had been groomed as a CEO, at her core, she was still playing the damsel. She couldn't handle betrayal. He couldn't handle her authority. It was doomed. When I saw Isabella again, she stood at my hotel door, soaked from head to toe. The moment I opened it, she threw herself at me. I stepped back sharply. She stumbled, hurt flashing across her face. He lied to me, she whispered. Are you going to abandon me too? She looked like she'd aged 10 years in days. Makeup ruined. Clothes drenched. It was pouring outside. I felt nothing. Isabella, I'm not a recycling bin for broken hearts, I said coldly. Is this when you finally feel regret? She flinched. We're still husband and wife. Why are you being like this? Husband and wife. I laughed. You only come back after seeing Leo's true colors. That's not regret. It's disgusting. She stared at me in disbelief. The old Drew would have forgiven her instantly. I wasn't him. She grabbed my arm. I was wrong. Can you forgive me? Just because you're sorry doesn't mean I have to forgive you. You promised you'd always love me. I raised a finger. If you'd said this a month ago, I would have said yes. I still loved you. But now, you're tainted. She staggered back. I didn't. An emotional affair is still an affair. There's no room for you here anymore. She lunged again, sobbing. You still love me, don't you? I can change. Don't be a fool. Go. I handed her the box with the diary and photo album. Clean break. Courthouse in 2 days. If you don't show, I leak something worse. She looked inside once and broke down. I closed the door without hesitation. 2 days later, she waited at the courthouse, hollow-eyed. Please, she whispered. No. 10 minutes later, I walked out with a signed decree, lighter than I'd felt in years. She called after me. "We can start over. No one waits forever, Isabella." As I said it, something inside me finally settled. The real Drew had let her go. I posted the decree online. The internet erupted again. He actually did it. The sequel we waited for. Congrats, man. You're finally free from that toxic woman. Man, I owe you an apology for all the trash I talked about you before. So, how much did you walk away with in the settlement? Come on, spill the tea. The internet really was a fickle beast. Mixed in with the congratulations were trolls accusing me of orchestrating the entire scandal just to score a massive payout. I didn't bother arguing. Instead, I smiled and posted one last thing, the official fire marshal's report. It clearly stated that my condo fire had been a deliberate act of arson. The investigation was still ongoing, and the culprit had already been arrested. I didn't add commentary. I simply uploaded a photo of my charred, blackened condo with a short caption, "Homeless, but free." That was all it took. The public connected the dots immediately, and the spotlight swung straight back to Leo. This guy is pure evil. If he can't have it, he burns it down. Throw the book at him. Lock him up. I seriously don't get what Isabella ever saw in him. I used to think Leo was hot. Now he just looks greasy. Let the trash take out the trash. They deserve each other. Leo's reputation was completely destroyed. Julian, true to his word, made his final move. With Isabella's public image already shattered by the divorce scandal, her projects inside the company began failing one after another. Julian led a full boardroom coup, citing irreparable damage to the brand. With the backing of several other directors, he acquired her shares and forced her removal from power. Isabella Rossi fell from grace. I later heard from an old staff member at the Rossi estate that she was being forced to sell off her properties just to cover the massive losses she was now personally liable for. When I heard that, I felt nothing but relief. If we hadn't divorced in time, half of that debt would have been mine. Leo didn't fare any better. His plan to use the Rossi partnership to resurrect his family's company backfired in spectacular fashion. One of his real estate developments was exposed for using substandard materials after a scaffolding collapse injured a worker. It should have been a manageable crisis, pay compensation, fix the construction issues, move on. But Leo, arrogant to the end, sent his security team to rough up the protesting workers instead. A journalist caught everything on camera. With the city already in the middle of a major revitalization campaign, officials saw the footage and demanded severe consequences. The Vance brand image plummeted overnight. Leo was arrested. I heard that even as they slapped the cuffs on him, he was still trying to pull rank, demanding his lawyer, screaming about prosecuting the mastermind behind the scenes. I spent a little money to make sure that clip went viral. Legal experts all over TikTok had a field day breaking down the mountain of laws he'd violated. Watching it all unfold, I shook my head. In the original novel, Leo was the hero. His illegal actions were always glossed over, excused as charisma or dominance. But with my interference, this world had started operating on real-world logic. And real-world logic has consequences. Leo burned through a fortune in legal fees and settlements just to get out on bail. He was forced to tear down the faulty building and rebuild it from scratch at his own expense. Future tenants banded together and formed a watchdog group, monitoring the construction site daily, ready to call authorities at the smallest infraction. Leo was living inside a hell of his own making. Seeing all of this, I smiled when my phone lit up with a notification, a wire transfer from Julian. $10 million. My share of the winnings. With that money, I bought a sprawling penthouse with a panoramic view of the city and started my own consulting business. Life became simple, calm, fulfilling. The next time I heard about them was 6 months later. The Vance Group had officially declared bankruptcy. For just a moment, seeing the story's former hero so thoroughly defeated sent a flicker of unease through me. Had my interference destabilized the entire world of the novel? Would I be erased next? But the months passed. Nothing happened. I finally relaxed. After the bankruptcy, Leo vanished completely. I didn't care enough to follow up. One evening, Julian invited me out to dinner. As we were being seated, I saw her. Isabella. She looked pale, sharp-edged, and furious. The moment she spotted me, she froze. Then her expression twisted into pure hatred. "You too," she snarled. "You worked together to trick me." Julian barely reacted. He shrugged. "You were dealt a winning hand and played it like an idiot. That's on you." I smiled. Isabella clearly couldn't accept reality. She rushed toward our table. "Drew, how could you?" I glanced at her calmly, then snapped my fingers. A waiter appeared immediately. "Yes, sir. How may I help you?" I gestured toward Isabella. "I believe this restaurant has a members-only policy. How did she get in?" Isabella stopped dead, stunned. A beefy man with slick back hair, who had been lurking behind her, hurried forward, bowing excessively to Julian and me. "My apologies, gentlemen. We're just passing through. Only here for a quick bite. So sorry to disturb you." He grabbed Isabella's arm. "Let's go. Now." She yanked her arm free. "Who do you think you are? Ordering me around?" Without hesitation, he slapped her hard across the face. "You still think you're some precious princess," he snapped. "Move before you make things worse." Isabella, who had never been treated that way in her life, started screaming. The restaurant staff immediately escorted them both out. I watched her retreating figure and laughed softly. "You sold her off?" I asked. Julian shrugged again, sipping his wine. "She's a woman with no sense. Her only remaining value was as a marriage asset. That man is one of our downstream suppliers. With him in the family, our production costs drop by 20%. I nodded. It was disgusting, but it made sense. Isabella's mind may have been broken, but she still had the face of an angel. Even though she was a woman I once loved, or rather, a woman a previous version of me loved, seeing her reduced to that state stirred nothing inside me. She had done this to herself. Julian and I exchanged a glance and smiled. Money in the bank. A beautiful home. A life built entirely on my own terms. I was satisfied. As for the toxic ex-wife, good riddance.